abundance in a universe. And we all have the ability to tap into our deepest dreams. You can learn and grow at your own speed, and build a business based on your own needs. Well, I bet you didn't know you could make money from your home and take control of your security. Yeah, I bet you didn't know that you could make it on your own and take good care of your family. Why do we wait until tomorrow when we could do it today? Step out of your comfort zone and take a leap of faith. You can learn and grow at your own speed, and build a business based on your own needs. Well, I bet you didn't know you could make money from your home and take control of your security. Yeah, I bet you didn't know that you could make it on your own and take good care of your family. Bedrock bookkeepers rock it from their home. Bedrock bookkeepers make it on their own. Bedrock bookkeepers living in the zone. Well, I bet you didn't know you could make money from your home and take control of your security. Yeah, I bet you didn't know that you could make it on your own and take good care of your family. Well, I bet you didn't know you could make money from your home and take control of your security. Yeah, I bet you didn't know that you could make it on your own and take good care of your family. Well, I bet you didn't know you could make money from your home and take control of your security. Yeah, I bet you didn't know that you could make it on your own and take good care of your family.
Wow. Welcome back, Joe DeChara, CPA extraordinaire. I am back to Manila from a 12-day trip back to the USA. And I got to tell you, to be honest with you, I couldn't wait to get back here. I love my family. I love the USA. But this is living here and doing what I'm doing is a dream come true. To be honest with you, you know, one of my core values is to be transparent, and I don't have a problem sharing with you how much I love it here. Where is Pi? Where is Pi? I want to introduce you to my newest best friend in a second. Her name is Pi, and it's P-I. P-I. She is, and I don't like cats. I'm a dog person. But if you see her, is she adorable or what? She doesn't like being on camera yet, but you'll see her often. So why are we here? Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you for your time. Thank you, team Bedrock. I encourage them. I encourage my accounting team to join tonight under the threat of being fired if they don't. Because this is a very, very important subject that we're going to be covering for forever. because there is a multitude of foreigners that, not that they want to own U.S. companies, they have to own U.S. companies because of technology, because of the internet, because the world has gotten smaller, because compliance has gotten more stringent, because you can't hide anymore. You can't just open up a U.S. company and be stealth. Okay, so there are specific ways to do it correctly. Now, I can assure you there are a lot of scamsters out there, and why they're trying to scam people is beyond me. Well, the truth is because they really don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing, and to be specific, what they're telling people is you could be a foreigner and own a U.S. company and not pay any kind of taxes. Pay zero taxes, not in the U.S. and not in the country that you live in. And I wish that were the case. I wish that were true. Because they would not be hurting hundreds of thousands of new small business owners. Because let's face it, folks, the tax laws are complicated. They're not simple. They're not simple. So when you hear somebody that sounds and looks like an expert and they give you advice and direction, who's going to blame you for following that direction? But the problem is that whoever signs those tax returns and sets up the entity is ultimately responsible, not the scamster that is setting you up. Yeah, eventually they will get caught. They will get caught by the IRS, by the FBI, because what they're telling people is just not true. So what I would appreciate right now, because I do, hey, Pi, my Pi friend is watching. So if you could give me a hashtag live, that so I know that you're watching this live. And more importantly, if you give me a hashtag recording, I know that you're watching the recording. Because this is going to be, it is already a huge, huge topic, a big topic for jump starters that want to start and own their own agency. And that's really why I'm doing this. Okay, thank you, Deck. Thank you, Mariko. Thank you, Luz, even though you were under the threat of getting laid off. I don't care why you're here, but the fact that you're here is most important. So while I was away, sometimes taking a break, not that this was a break, it was, yeah, it's a long trip back to the USA. I spent a day and a half coming back, but it was all worth it because it gave me time to look at what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and who I'm doing it for. And it really comes down to the jump starters. It comes down to the people that want to start and own their own agency. Why is that? Because my why is to empower people, empower small business owners. That's why I'm doing this. And everything I do, everything we do in Bedrock is geared towards empowering the small business owners. Now, how we do that, there's a lot of different ways how we do that. And this is one of the ways we educate people. We give information, valuable information. We load it up into YouTube, onto the internet, so it's always up there. And people that need this information, hopefully they will find it. They will find it. And I'm going to tell you a couple of true stories before the end of this recording, this slideshow, this presentation, whatever you want to call it, this show, this thing that we're doing. Okay, I'm gonna, yeah, let's just get into it. So first, let me get my bearings. Let's talk about who this is actually for, because that's always important. You know, first and foremost, like I said, it's really for people that are, number one, on my team, whether they're full-time or interns. It's for people that are students of ours. We have a lot of students. It's for people that are in Jumpstart that have no idea what they might know what they want to do, where they want to be, but they don't know how to get there. I hope that makes sense to you. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments, because I have figured out how to check out the comments, and let's get on with this, because this is very, very interesting to me. So who does this apply to? What kinds of businesses should be cognizant, should be aware of the requirements of being a US based business? And basically it's all of them. So we have this infographic showing the different types of businesses, and really what I should have told Aaron was just put down all of them, because the truth is that it doesn't matter if you're a foreigner or a US citizen. You can own any kind of business in the United States. Did you know that some of the largest businesses in the United States are foreign owned? That's right. They're not owned by US citizens. They are foreign owned. And in another segment, we'll go through that. But let's go through the objective here. It's not just to set up a US business. It's to pay zero taxes, zero US taxes on whatever your US based income is. Now, depending on the situation, it's very, very possible. Okay, now I can't tell you for sure, if you're a foreigner, that you're not going to be subject to US taxes. And as we go through the slideshow, you'll understand why. And it all depends on what your objective is. What your objective is, what the numbers are showing, what kind of profitability you will have. Okay. And also, let me preface this by saying that we deal with small businesses. We're not dealing with Microsoft and Apple and multi-million and billion-dollar entities. We're talking about startups, people that want to set up an Amazon store, a Walmart store. They want to accept Stripe. All these different industries that are forced to have a US-based presence. Now, sometimes somebody might want to have a US-based company for marketing purposes, because it's a lot more powerful if you're based in the US. If you want to do business with people in the US, they want to do business with a US based company. Okay, so there's all different kinds of reasons why people want to start a US based company. But I can show you, and before the end of this presentation, I'm going to show you exactly how you can pay zero US taxes legally. Legally, because like I said in the beginning, there's a lot of scamsters out there that are showing people how to pay zero taxes illegally, which makes no sense to me, except for the fact that they really don't know the rules, the laws, the regulations, and what's going on with the IRS. What is the law? The law is simple. Well, for me, it's simple. If you're a foreigner, believe it or not, you are subject to the same exact US laws as a United States citizen. Now, the mechanisms and the logistics are a little bit different. They are a little bit different. But if not done correctly, the penalties are substantial. They are substantial. And I'll give you an example. If you don't file one form, it's a $25,000 per year penalty. So if you really want to know how to set up a US company for a foreigner, all you got to do is take my courses, our courses, because we go through all the legalities that have to do with setting up a US company. Now, when you're a foreigner, like I said, there's a couple of peculiarities. There's a couple of instances where things have to be handled a little bit differently because you don't have a social security number, you don't have a US residence, there's taxability issues on a personal level, and we're going to go through all of that. Now, the first thing that you have to do as a foreigner that wants to set up a legal US entity is register it. It has to be registered in one of the 51 states. Now, there's 50 states, but there's also a semi-state called the District of Columbia. Don't ask me why it's like that. But if you want to do business in the District of Columbia, there's it's another registration. It's like a state within a state. But the good news is, if you're a foreigner, you want to be in one of the tax-free states. And there's only 7 of them. And usually the state of choice is Wyoming. Why Wyoming? Because the fees are lower. There's, like I said, there's no state income tax. And administratively, it's just a lot easier. Now, a lot of people go to Delaware. Why? Because when they do an internet search, they're going to find, oh, you should set up an LLC in Delaware. You should set up an LLC in Delaware. And I'm going to explain to you why setting up an LLC is not even relevant. Is not even relevant. So you could see people make a lot of mistakes when they open up a US-based company. Not only foreigners, people in the US make a tremendous amount of mistakes. And people on my team, the Bedrock team, know this as a fact. They register in the wrong state. They don't file their annual reports. So if you're a foreigner, the rules are the same as if you're a US citizen. Okay, as far as registering a business. So normally you want to register in Wyoming. And again, I'm going to preface this by saying that everybody's situation is different. But most of the time, you want to be registered as a corporation, not as an LLC, depending on your situation in Wyoming. So I just want to take a second to say hello to Coach Yan. Thank you for always supporting me. Thank you for your service. I see, I'm on social media a lot now, Marianne, so I see you and I'm emulating you. If anybody wants to know how to get clients, just follow Marianne, join her elite accounting people's program. I highly recommend it. It's a good, whether you're just starting out or you're a pro, an expert, join accounting people's and try to log on to her next batch of elite. Now, what's next? Like I said, we're going to talk about corp versus LLC. Now, we come across this a lot. People set up LLCs because it's cool, it's new. That's what you find out when you go on the internet. Oh, you should set up an LLC because it's easier to manage. The fact is that when you're a foreigner, you're going to be taxed as a corporation. Forget about what all of these scamsters are saying, because what they're telling you, what they're telling foreigners is if you set up an LLC is what we call a pass-through entity. And that means that the income or loss passes through to the individual owner. So their contention is that a foreigner is not subject to filing a U.S. tax return. This is completely incorrect. This is so far off the mark, it's not even funny. It's in black and white, folks. If you're an LLC owned by a foreigner, you are taxed as a corporation. You are taxed as a corporation. An LLC, for tax purposes, for the IRS, an LLC is what we call a disregarded entity. In other words, the IRS does not recognize an LLC. But if you're a foreign-owned U.S. company, they specifically say you're going to be taxed as a corporation. Now, you could set up an LLC, but you're still going to be taxed as a corporation. So when I set up a foreign owner entity, I'm going to set them up as a corporation. It's just simpler. It's simpler. But again, let me preface that by saying it depends on your situation. Now, believe it or not, when you set up a U.S. company, you got to follow sound business practices. Okay, what does that mean? Part of it is you have to do accurate bookkeeping and accounting. Yes, you need to have books and records, just like a U.S. company owned by a U.S. citizen. So you have to make sure that you have a good bookkeeper and a good tax accountant. Two different things. Bookkeeping is not the same as accounting. Okay. In my course, I teach the triangle. There's the client, the bookkeeper, and the accountant. That makes for a strong team. Documentation. it's extremely, extremely important in today's environment, the way the IRS is being reorganized, that you have good backup. That means keeping your receipts, keeping all of your receipts in an organized file system. Because guess what's going to happen if the IRS, and there's going to be a lot more audits. If you're based in the Philippines, you're probably, and you have a business or you're an accountant or a bookkeeper, it's normal to have audits. It's not really normal in the United States to have audits because the IRS has just not been set up properly to do a lot of audits. But that's all going to change because of technology, because of the money that they're pumping in to the IRS, the amount of people that they're hiring, and the way that they're going to be doing audits is by fax. No more bringing in your documents. They're going to ask you fax in all of your information. It doesn't matter if it's 50 pages or 2,000 pages. They want you to fax it. And then guess what? They're going to be using AI and PDF converters to match your documents to your tax return. So you need best practices, you need a good bookkeeper, a good accountant, and you need to be able to document it. Now, when you set up a corporation, you need what we call a registered agent. The registered agent is really like your legal representative. If there's ever a legal action against your corporation, the registered agent, which has a physical presence in the state that you're registered in, will get the notice. The registered agent will also get all kinds of correspondence from the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State is where you register your corporation. So first you have to register your corporation with the Secretary of State. You have to tell the Secretary of State if you're going to be an LLC or a corporation. And then you have to tell the Secretary of State who your registered agent is. Now, normally, if it's a single owner entity, we make the owner the registered agent so that they could save on the fees. That's all going to change because there's too much compliance going on now at the state level. Okay. When you're a foreign owner, obviously you're not physically located in that state, and you need to have a physical presence, and we're going to cover that. So you have to basically hire a registered agent to be your legal representative. When you operate an entity, okay, if you're a corporation, you have to have articles of incorporation, which are going to document what you're doing. It's going to document everything about your corporation, who the owners are, who the officers are, what your business purpose is. If you're an LLC, you're going to have an operations agreement or a management agreement. Depending on what state you're in, they have different terminologies, but you're going to have some kind of document that dictates what this corporation does, who owns it, and all of the details. Okay. Same as if you're a U.S. resident. What a surprise. Now, corporations, now this is one of the things that the U.S. government and most of the information on the internet misleads people. Okay, yes, if you're a corporation, you're supposed to have board meetings. there's supposed to be what we call a board of directors. So the way a corporation is structured is you have the corporate entity, which is separate from its owners. And in the United States, a corporation is actually treated like a person. So a corporation could actually be put on trial, believe it or not. There could be criminal charges against the corporation. That just happened to, to one of Donald Trump's organizations. Okay, they got hit with fines. Yeah, so that's a whole nother story. But when you're a corporation, you have to operate as a corporation. And that means having a board meeting. So there's the corporation, there's the owners, and then there's the officers of the corporation, the president, the vice president. But then there's also what we call a board of directors. So the board of directors is supposed to elect the officers of the corporation. But let's say you're a single owner, which is what the majority of entities are. They're owned by one individual. So, for instance, Bedrock Business Builders, I'm the only shareholder. I'm the only shareholder. So, guess who's on the board of directors? It's me. I could have a whole board if I want, but then I lose control because then I have to follow whatever the board votes on. So I choose to only have me as the board. So I'm the chairman of the board. I elected myself to be president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. That's how it is. That's what the law is. And people get misled by thinking, oh my God, it's going to be more complicated to be a corporation. It's going to be complicated. It's only complicated if you don't know what the real rules are and how they're enforced. I could have a board of directors meeting by doing a Loom video. I could have a board of directors meeting on a poster. I am Joe DiChiara. I am present at this board of directors meeting. It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. So it's not that complicated. It's simple, and that's my story. I'm sticking with it. Now, how do you do banking? You're a foreigner. How do you actually come into the United States and open up a bank account? Well, lucky for you, there are internet banks. We deal with an internet bank called RelayFi. We set our clients up with it. There's no need to visit the United States, open up an account. It's all done online. It's all done online. You know, about 10 years ago, I was looking at setting up a corporation for one of my clients in Ireland. Okay, why Ireland? Because that's where he came from. He had family there. It was legitimate, but it would have required him to actually fly to Ireland and physically open up a bank account. You don't have to do that now. You don't have to do that now. So you can have, and RelayFi is only one of the options. I'm sure that there's a lot more. Okay. Thank you all for your posts and the comments. I appreciate it. I am looking at it. Thank you, Rona. Thank you, Kabiz. I hope I said that right. Randolph, you've been a follower. I'm looking forward to chatting with you. Thank you. And if you have any questions, just post them in the chat. So I think I saw Eileen just send me a message about RelayFi, but I'm not sure if, yeah, can you send that to me again? Hello, Ian. Thank you for following. Next slide. Filing requirements. What do you have to file when you're a foreign owner of a U.S. company? The same exact things you got to file when you're a U.S. citizen. You got to file a tax return. Okay, every year. What a surprise. What a surprise. You got to follow the U.S. rules. You got to file an annual tax return. And the way that it's filed is different from the way a U.S. owner has to file. The foreign-owned entities actually have to file a second form of 5432, okay, detailing information about the ownership, and then it's faxed in. It's faxed in. It can't be electronically filed. Don't ask me why. That's just the way it is. You also have state and local regulations. Okay, you can't forget about that. See, the United States emphasis on states is, how could I say this? It all starts at the state level. Okay, wait, Chris is giving me something. Okay. Thank you, Chris. I'm going to post it in the chat. You could have just posted it in. So here's information on RelayFi. Okay, so that'll give you information. And this is all, so if you're part of the Jumpstart community, if you're a bookkeeper, an accountant, this is all for you to help and guide your clients. Okay, this will give you a tremendous leg up, because if my thinking is correct, I have a feeling that a lot of you will be dealing with foreign owners. They can be in e-commerce. They can be they could be a call center. So we have a client that has a big call center, and they have U.S. clients. So if you have U.S. clients, chances are you want to have a U.S. company. Okay, so getting back to the slides. Okay, so again, if you took my 13-week course, which is not going to be a 13-week course anymore, but if you follow me, you're going to understand that there's also, it's not just the IRS. You see, the IRS is in charge of all the states. But when you have a business, it always starts at the state level. It starts at the state level, and every state has their own particular rules and regulations, from licensing. So you could actually be a foreign owner and own a construction company. There's no laws against that. And for the construction industry, there's a lot of different rules and regulations. So you gotta understand the type of industry and the state and local rules and regulations. And believe it or not, you're still going to be subject to having to file payroll taxes and sales taxes if you're subject to those kinds of rules and regulations. So if you have to hire employees, and for anybody that's part of the Jumpstart community or one of our students, I highly recommend signing up for the payroll course. I am planning on putting together a sales tax course because I know that it's in high demand. people want to know because there's a lot of companies in e-commerce, and sales tax, believe it or not, is probably the most complicated type of tax that there is, because and again, the sales taxes are dictated not at the federal level, at the state level. It's dictated at the state level. And there's all kinds of new rules and regulations, and if you get it wrong, it could cripple your client. Annual reports. So now I explained about you need to have a registered agent, and what people fail to realize is when you register with the state, they expect some kind of fee. New York State is the only state, believe it or not, that I've done business with that doesn't require an annual report. What New York State wants is a biannual report. And it costs $9 to file. And if you don't file it, there's really no repercussions. What they want to know really is who owns the company and what your address is. So if you don't change that, if you've moved like I have, if you don't file it with the biannual report, you're going to have a problem. The other ramification is if you go for a business loan, the bank or finance company is going to check to see if you're in compliance. So it happens to us from time to time with New York-based clients that we have to go in and update their annual report. But every other state that we've done business, and we haven't done business in all 51 jurisdictions, but we've done business in a lot of them, and every single one of them requires an annual report and a fee. And guess what? If you don't file that, the state can dissolve the corporation. What does that mean? That means that your client does not really have a legal entity. And only bad things happen if you don't have a legal entity. There's a new thing called beneficial ownership reporting. Okay, and this has nothing to do with the IRS. This has to do with a branch of government that has to do with financial crimes. Okay, they want to know who owns every company, and it requires a report. Now it's new. I'm not, and Luz is the expert on it in our team. So Luz, if you can give us some insight on the beneficial ownership reporting requirements. But I know that you have to file, and people have, I believe, until the end of 12/24 to file. I might be wrong on that, but I know that it's an issue. But I believe even if especially if you're a foreign owner, you're going to have to file a beneficial ownership report. Personal tax returns for foreigners. Now this issue can get a little bit murky. Okay, a little bit murky, but it becomes pretty simple when you understand what the actual rules are. Now, if you are subject to U.S. taxes, you're going to have to pay taxes. How are you going to pay the taxes? It depends on your filing status. Okay, usually it's going to be done at the payment source. Okay, so if you're subject to U.S. tax filings, and I'm going to explain who's going to be subject to that in the next couple of slides. Whoever is paying you is going to have to withhold that money. They're going to have to withhold that money. Now, this also has to do, forget about if you're a foreign owner of a U.S. company. What if you're a foreign worker working for a U.S. company? Because the rules are the same. The rules are going to be the same. So just be aware of there are potential U.S. filing requirements on a personal level. And if there are, taxes are going to have to be withheld. So Luz just gave us some information. Existing companies, and this is in the chat, a reporting company created or registered to do business in the United States before January 1st, 2024 must file by January 1st, 2025. Okay. So, and then there's some other rules. So it looks to me like it doesn't, if you're a foreign owner or a U.S. resident, you still have to file before January 1, 2025. So what does it come down to if you have to file? And this is the last slide, folks. And this is the creme de la creme of the crux of the situation. Because I have to tell you that we spent a lot of time and effort researching whether or not a foreign worker needs to be paying taxes in the U.S. And it's if you look at the rules, the instructions for the form, it's very, very murky. They don't give you a clear black and white answer. They use language like effectively connected with the U.S. business. So if you look at the withholding requirements for a foreign worker, what the form, and this is form W8ECI, okay, it's the withholding requirements for a foreign worker. And what the form will tell you is everybody is subject to U.S. tax withholding. And then it goes on to say, if they are effectively connected with the U.S. trade or business. Now, I had a problem with this from the beginning because I told my workers, my team, because they all live in the Philippines, they're all considered independent contractors. Now, an independent contractor, I am not, a U.S.-based company is not required to withhold money for an independent contractor. If you're a U.S. citizen, you're going to get a Form 1099 reporting that income. But if you're a foreigner, you can't get a 1099 because you don't have a tax ID number and you don't have a social security number. So there's no way to report it. Well, all that is changing, folks, because of the internet, because of technology, because of the fact that countries are talking to each other now. So what does it really come down to? When the IRS says effectively connected with a trade or business, what exactly do they mean? Because in my eyes, all of my team members, Luz, Catherine, Rona, Grace, they're all effectively tied to a U.S. business. But the problem is they don't have a physical presence in the United States. Now, I know this because of a rule called nexus. Nexus is a legal term which states that if you do not have a physical presence in a location, and this is in the United States, you're not required to file a tax return. So I did some digging. And the truth is that I was correct. If lose, and this is where it gets really, really dicey. Okay, so Luz has some more information about the beneficial ownership reporting, and it's in the chat. Now, what you can do if you don't know, you could actually save the chat, or you can copy and paste it right now, because there's a lot of good information on it. So this is where it becomes murky. And it becomes one of those things where it becomes hard to enforce, almost impossible to enforce for a small business. But as the accountant, as the bookkeeper, our jobs are to inform our clients, to guide them and tell them, listen, this is what the rule is. This is what the rule is. Now, I mentioned Form W8ECI. And when we found out about this, I had all of my team members sign one, because that alleviated me from having to withhold 30% of their pay. Now, I hope that you're following me on this, because this is pretty new. This is pretty new, and the reason why it's new is because the world has gotten a lot smaller. A lot more U.S. companies are outsourcing. They're hiring foreign workers. And as the accountant, it's our job to inform our clients about this. So if a foreign worker is subject to U.S. taxes, I'm required to withhold 30% of their pay unless they sign that Form W8ECI. Now, how am I supposed to know if they're physically present in the United States? Luz, Rona, they could all be living in New York State for all I know. How do I know they're in the Philippines? Unless they tell me. Now, I know eventually the government is going to be able to track it based on people's passports. Okay, you see, this is why it's going to be impossible to escape from the system. Now, it might take a while, but eventually, if they tell me, hey, Lou spent, and I don't remember the amount of days, the physical presence test, I believe it's, and Lou's, Catherine, if one of you can put in the rules of the physical presence test, I would appreciate it. But I believe it's 183 days. If somebody, a foreigner, spends 183 days in the United States, they are subject to U.S. taxes. Now, that might be over a 3-year period. I'm going to have to get back to you on that. If you have any questions, again, just post a question in the Facebook chat, or where the LinkedIn chat, wherever you're watching this from. But there is a physical presence test, and that's what's going to determine if your foreign team member has to, if you're responsible for withholding their taxes. I hope that makes sense. Now, if you're a foreign owner of a U.S. based company you're subject to the same physical presence test. Okay, so if you're a foreign owner of a US based company and you spend X amount of days in the United States, you're going to have to file a US tax return. So that's the end of the slideshow. I hope that you learned something here. Uh, Hopefully, it gave you a little bit more insight on a big, big issue. Because believe me, there's going to be a lot more foreign owners of U.S. companies. So if you're looking to start an agency, if you're looking to create a niche, this is a great niche to be in. There's a lot of foreigners that are going to have to. It's not even a choice. They're going to have to set up a U.S. company. Now, also, there are a lot of foreigners that set up U.S. companies incorrectly. They're not in compliance. They're not filing the tax returns. They're not faxing in the right forms. Okay? It's not hard to set up a U.S. company. It's easy. Being in compliance is the hard part. And the US government, they don't care. They're like, yeah, set up a company. Set up a company here. Do business. If you're not in compliance, we'll catch you later. We'll send you a letter. The US economy is the biggest economy in the world. Trillions and trillions of dollars going in and out, in and out. It's only a matter of time before they start plugging the holes of all these people that are not in compliance. And unfortunately, you know, when I started Bedrock, and this is part of my why, when I started Bedrock, I wanted to be able to help small businesses, you know, tighten up their financial controls, show them how to make more money. No, it's become all about compliance. How do we stay a step ahead of the government so that our clients don't get hit with a surprise? With the surprise. So this is a never-ending story. Stay tuned. Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you, Ian. Thank you all for attending. Thank you, Pi, wherever you are, my new mascot. If you come to Jumpstart, you'll get to meet Pi personally. That should be a good reason for all of you to attend. And if you haven't, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Why should you do that? Because recordings like this get uploaded, and then if you're subscribed, you get a notification that we have a new video. And you should definitely, if you haven't already, sign up for the Jumpstart Your Freelance Accounting Career, and then come to our grand launch on May 18th and May 19th. We have some special deals, an all-star cast of speakers. You're going to get to meet a lot of people. You're going to get to network with your peers. And if you don't walk away, and I'm gonna say this publicly, if you don't walk away completely satisfied, I will give you your money back. Okay, money back guaranteed. Okay, I don't want anybody to walk away unsatisfied. And if you do, I would be very, very surprised. Okay, it's not just the speakers. It's there's no substitute for the face-to-face physical activity. Okay, Zoom calls, this is great. It's great to connect with people like this, but you'll see when you meet Marianne face-to-face, when you meet Jonathan, when you meet Larry. Okay, I haven't met Cap or Steve C. yet. I'm looking forward to it. But again, it's different when you're in person. It's totally different. So also every Monday at this time, 7 p.m., we do a live specifically geared towards people that want to start and build their own accounting agency. Now, you could, you could start from scratch, just like I did, just like everybody else that has an accounting practice did at one point. We all started from scratch. Okay, it could be a 10-year plan. It could be, listen, I'm ready. I'm ready now. We're going to take you step by step through the whole process. And for anybody that ever wants to connect with me, just go to timewithjoe.com. Just mention that you attended my Facebook Live or wherever you connected with me from, and I'll be glad to chat with you. I love talking about business, about accounting. Actually, no, I don't like to talk about accounting. I like to talk about the accounting business, the business side of accounting. And this is our company. We're transparent. This is our legal address. You can always contact me. You can go to Joe at Bedrock Business Builders. Like I said, my job is to connect with people. And this is one of the ways that we do it. And I just want to say thank you and God bless. I hope you enjoyed this as much as me. And again, I want to thank everyone that attended. I want to thank Luz and Catherine and Rona and the rest of my team that were under the threat of getting fired if they didn't. Thank you, Myrna, Erin. Good to see you. So Erin is the actually the individual that does all these beautiful slides. I just give her bullet points, and look at what a great job she does. This is unbelievable. Believe it or not, folks, I used to do this. So when I say start from scratch, I've started from scratch way too many times, and I don't plan on starting from scratch again. So again, God bless. Thank you. Good night, and I'm glad to be home.